For tuning in, and I hope that it's streaming everywhere on Facebook, Twitch, and Periscope, and YouTube as well. So let me just check that whether the stream is correct or not. So yep, we are live. So uh, today I want to give you a tip is that if you want to do something important, do not stop your alarm. Do not dismiss your alarm before you wake up. So I dismissed my alarm, and actually I woke up 10 minutes ago. So I had to set this up very quickly. So I think this kind of things happen when we set out to do something like this, and we can't really wake up at the same time every day. So yeah, that happens, right? So thank you again, and this is the day 4 of Factfulness, but no, it's actually third day for the Factfulness, and total it's day 17 of my 30-day reading challenge. I'm quite excited that I've been reading for quite a long period of time without missing a day. And so I took this 30-day reading challenge just to just to discipline myself, because I was unable to finish a single book for a longer period of time. So it was really important for me to go ahead and read and complete the book. And to discipline myself, I have started this 30-day reading challenge and doing this publicly. And the Factfulness, this book is actually selected by the community. So I have asked my Facebook friends and my friends on WhatsApp, and especially friends or people on Instagram. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, please go ahead and do follow me on ImpleBooks at Instagram, right? And so all of the people, most of them suggested this book Factfulness, and I'm quite excited that this book is here, and I'm reading it. So thank you so much again, and we are going to start reading from the chapter 2, chapter 3 and 4 we are going to read today. So if we go there, chapter 3 and 4 we are going to read. So it's almost like 75 to 124 pages. It's 25 49, almost 48 pages we are going to read today. So that's not a lot, but yeah. So again, thank you so much for tuning in, and if you're reading with me, please I would say one thing: always keep reading, don't stop, whatever the reason is. Please keep reading. Thank you so much, and have a good day. the Hans Rosling was talking about a time when Ebola was outspread. So Ebola was a disease which is far deadlier than the coronavirus outbreak that really happened today in today's world. Because if you catch Ebola, and chances were the suffering was too much. And it was visible in the body as well. So your body acted like someone that you see that okay, he or she is actually sick. So if you catch Ebola, you are going to look like a sick person. But in coronavirus time, it's just like a flu that happens, and people are not really afraid of this much. So Ebola was and it was a disaster, right? But here was the thing, and Ebola was spreading like nothing else. So what Hans Rosling did is Hans Rosling thought that the number of cases are increasing like linearly. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and excuse me. So he thought that the number of data is increasing. So Hans Rosling thought that the number of data is increasing in a single line, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But when he plot the data, he said that statistics can be scary as well sometimes. So when he plot the data in a graph, he saw that the data, the number was not increasing in a linear fashion like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was like 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and so on. It was like doubling every time. So it was like a compounding. So that was a frightful situation for him. And when he saw that okay, the data is like changing this way, means every single person is affecting 2 other person before they die. So initial cases, obviously whoever catches Ebola, they were unable to save, because there was not much medical aid to actually make them survive. But they were actually giving these diseases to at least 2 people before they die. So it was like spreading in a lot of huge manner. So their job is to like stop this in 3 weeks. Stop this virus in 3 weeks, because the more you delay, the more it is going to be problematic for the society, and it is going to take more resources to actually stop this diseases, because it was spreading dangerously. So here he talks about a very interesting story about Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna once asked for a grain of rice on the 4 square of the chessboard. So first he asked for 2 grains on one square, and second on the first he asked for 1 grain on 1 square, then in second square he asked for 2 grains, and third square he asked for 4 grains, and fourth square he asked for 6 grains. And by the time he reaches the 64 squares of the chessboard, so he asked for a lot of grain that can cover the India with layer of rice with 30 inches deep, right? So Lord Krishna actually shows us the power of compounding, because in today's world we actually don't care much about the power of compounding. So if you think about it, by the time you reaches like a 4 or 5 square, we are just into the 16 grains of rice, or 20 grains of or 32 grains of rice. 32 grains of rice does not make much sense to us, because it's so much lower. But if you stick to it, you are going to get the actual result, because he showed the power of compounding. So this is not the story of this, but the compounding is cool and dangerous as well sometimes. So dangerous in the case of pandemic, because in coronavirus time almost 3.5 people were spreading this virus, like whoever were infected spreading in giving this infection to 3.5 people, which was far huge outbreak than Ebola, because Ebola was controlled. But Ebola used to look very dangerous, and it actually used to be dangerous as well, far dangerous than the coronavirus. But anyway, so that's the thing. So when he understood that, okay, so the data is not the way he see, he actually, missed his Christmas and New Year with his family for the first time, and he was there to actually show how the data is actually working, right? Because he had worked for studying epidemics in rural sub-Saharan Africa. So because in Africa's countries, they they the the condition is very bad, and this kind of things happens. The epidemics, a little bit of small epidemics happened there because of the hygiene and all that, from in Africa. So yeah, so because he had experience of 20 years of this pandemic, so it was obvious for him to actually work on that, right? I will be get back soon, guys. So yep, please just stick with me. So we are back. Okay, so he says that we think that world population. The reason he talked about the compounding previously is just to make this fact really clear that we think about that. Sometimes we think about the line is actually straight. Something is going a very linear fashion, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But the story can be different as well. So he says that this happened in terms of the world population when people were asked for what is the world population and how it is increasing. So uh, he said that you know a billion people will be added over 13 years also, and the world population is increasing like super fast. It's very fast, right? So he says that it's not just increasing. So he very emphasized on the fact that it's not just increasing, it is increasing very 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 fast, guys. So that's the reason he is talking about this compounding. We sometime and actually think like that the graph is actually straight, but it's not, right? So that's what he's talking about. So that is a concern, guys, and if it is working like this. So and also there's a question that I also was wrong in this question, and I see that why I was wrong. So there are 2 billion he asked. The question was like that question was on the chapter 1, right? In introduction. So the question was like, there are 2 billion children in the world today aged 0 to 15 years old. How many children will be there in the year 2100 according to the UN? So there was the three answers to this question: 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion. And he asked this question to the Norwegian teacher. Norwegian teacher were teaching world population to their students. So it was expected that the author was expecting that okay, they would be able to give the correct answer, but when the answers came out, he thought that the polling device has some problem, because how they can be so bad, answer so bad. Because if you ask this question to the chimpanzee, he's using the chimpanzee example again. Chimpanzee, if you're asking this question to chimpanzee, giving 3 bananas and randomly, and they will pick randomly at least one banana, and you're giving this to all of the chimpanzees, so chances are that by probability there will be 33% chances that your answers will be correct. 33% chimpanzees will take this third banana here, that is 2 billion, right? But those Norwegian teacher performed far lesser than the chimpanzees, so they answered only 9% correctly, right? So that was a huge disaster, and he was saying that okay, if they are answering so less, if their answers are so incorrect, what are they teaching to their children, right? So that's really a thing to actually understand, that what's really going on, right? And yep. And also a lot of people like World Economic Forums and United Kingdom, Sweden, Germany, France, Australia, almost only 15% were correct almost. So our 85% were like always they used to choose the fake line made up by the author, right? Okay. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, please go ahead and follow me. The link, you can find it, all the social handles right now on the screen. So thank you so much again, and let's keep reading. So here is a very interesting story that the Hans Rosling talking about. Uh, it's about a story that how we actually perceive things. So here I want to quote one thing from this book. When looking at stone flying towards you, you can often predict whether it is going to hit you. So if someone throws a stone on you, if the stone is coming to you, you can often predict that whether this stone is going to hit you or not. You can stand there or just do it like this and the stone is going back there, or maybe you're seeing that okay, the stone is not going to hit me. So this happens, right? We are always predicting, right? So he says that you need no numbers, no graphs, no spreadsheets. You don't need any data for this, just to calculate that whether this stone is going through this or not, right? Your eyes and brain extend the trajectory, and you move out of the stone's way, right? So our brain and eye work towards the stone. Okay, it is coming towards me, I should go ahead and shift a little so that I can be saved, right? So yeah, then your eyes and brain extend the trajectory and you move out of the stone's way. It's easy to imagine how this automatic visual forecasting skill helped our ancestors survive, right? And it still helps us survive. When driving a car, we constantly predict where other cars will be within the next few seconds, right? But our straight line intuition is not always reliable guide in modern life, right? So in modern life, we can't really always use this straight line to take all the decisions. Maybe it is good for some decisions, like we're driving a car, somebody is throwing stone at us and we're taking decisions. If we think about like data, the stone will hit us. Okay, so we need to have this horse vision at that time, but we can't really work with this vision every time, right? Especially when we are thinking about terms like the population, and population is actually has been grown a lot. So almost for almost 10,000 years the populations were steady, right? But after that, after 1800, 1 billion was added, and after and then next billion and next other billion is added in 130 years, and 5 billion added in 100 years after that. So see that after 1800s the curve is actually going up, and it is going up in, it's not really a straight line, right? It is, just look at the curve, man. That's how the world population is actually increasing, but we think that it's just increasing. It's not just increasing, it is increasing in a very 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 fast manner, guys. So here is also an example why we think actually that the world population is just increasing. All the political people, all the people in the world who thinks about the world population, why they think that it's just increasing. The reason is there is a very good analogy that he has given. So he said that his youngest grandchild, Mino was 19.5 inches long when he was born, right? In his first 6 months, he grew to be 26.5 inches. So first 6 months, he was like 26.5 inches. It's an impressive growth of like 7 inches. In 6 months, the Mino grown for 7 inches. So he plot the increment in a graph, and he saw that, okay, in 5 years, Mino will hit the 80 inches. Right? So he put the line in a straight line, and he saw that, okay, the Mino will hit this much, but here is a catch. Okay, so he will be 60 inches in his third birthday, and that means 5 foot, right? And he will be 160 inches, that is meant 130 in his 10th birthday, which is a huge growth, right? And it's scary, but we know that this just can't continue, because we have never seen people more than 160. So we have never seen people 160 inches tall, right? So we know in our mind that even if Mino is growing in such a huge rate, he's not going to grow out after a certain age, or after a certain amount of inches, right? So we are depending on the past or history data that people didn't grow this much, right? So we are not taking this as a medical emergency or anything like that. So we are actually taking the world population just like this Mino's height increment. So we are thinking that, okay, the world population is just increasing, what should we do about it? We can't really do anything much about it. What can we do? But the world population is not increasing only, it is increasing in a super high speed. It's like a rocket. It's far better. It's far huge than rocket, man. It's a concerning thing. So yeah, and okay. So that was the expectation of people think how the population that is the UN forecast, and that was like how people think actually the world population will increase, and that's the UN forecast. By 2100 there will be 11 billion people all will be added. That's really scary. If you think about just the time, it's not even 90 years, it's 83 years, and 11 billion peoples are really scary thing, right? So the world population today is 7.6 billion, and yes, it's growing fast. Still, the growth has already started to slow down, and the UN experts are pretty sure it will keep slowing down over the next few decades. They think their curve will be flattened out somewhere between 10 and 12 billion people by the end of this century. So right, so that's what the UN actually think, and how we think it is going to be. It's just increasing, right? It's just increasing. That's how we think, but that's the actual scenario, right? So how that's actually we think about how the world actually is, and that's the data talking. So this data is freely available, he said, but author also said that we don't care much about the free data. So it's all in the UN website. If you want to go ahead and check out, you can do that, right? There was he says that after 1948 there was a huge dip. After 1965 actually there was a huge dip in terms of number of babies that used to born. So here comes this question. I actually get this question wrong as well. So the question was, he asked is like, the UN predicts that by 2100s the world population will have increased by another 4 billion people. What is the main reason? So there was three options. There will be more children aged below 15. There will be more adults aged 15 to 74. There will be more very old people aged 75 and older. So I thought that there will be more children. So I choose this answer of A. So I thought that okay, there will be more babies, but he said that okay, no, there in terms of data there will be more adults like 15 to 74 years of age who are living currently in today's world, right? So there will be very less babies, and he shows this statistics, this graph here, which actually shows this in that after 1965 the number of babies people are having is really dropping very drastically. And the reason is that people know after the after people actually left the the extreme poverty, because in extreme poverty you need so much children to support your family, so that those children can work for the family and bring food to the family, right? So you need those children, and in some countries they used to get insurance if a children used to die. So in previously people had a lot of children. So if one children dies for some reason, and they used to die because immunity was very less, so they used to die, and they used to get a lot of they used to get the insurance after the children was dead, right? So that was not really needed after people actually get out of the extreme poverty. So actually a lot of people have fewer children. And there was a funny thing. He said that in practice that goal was to realize thanks to the wonderful blessings of modern contraceptives, which let parents have fewer children without having less sex. So we can have a lot of sex in this world without worrying about children, because there are a lot of great stuff available, like contraceptives and condoms. So please use that and save the world, have less children, right? This didn't say author, but I'm saying this, right? So yep. So he showed a chart that a lot of people will have in world, there will be a lot of times people will be like from 15 to 75 years of age. So in 2015 it's 7 billion, and in 2030 it's 8 billion. Excuse me. In 2045 it's 9 billion, 2060 10, and 2075 11. I'm having a lot of cough recently because of the weather is changing a lot. I don't know whether you're feeling this or not, but in Kolkata it's changing, and yeah, it feels good when I wake up. It feels good in the outside when I see through the window. It looks really amazing. I see people are walking to the roof, and sometimes I feel like waving them hi, but I'm reading a book. I can't be distracted here. But yeah, in nature it feels good, right? So okay, let's not get distracted and read the book. So I want to read it as it is, because it's a number game, and it would be easy for you to understand how this graph is actually, how this thing is, a bar chart is actually working. So he said, on the left, the chart shows the ages of 7 billion people alive in 2015, right? And 2 billion were aged, 2 billion, that is 2 billion, were aged 0 to 15, 0 to 15, okay? 2 billion aged 15 to 30, that is 2 billion aged 15 to 30, and there were 1 billion each in the 30 to 45. So there is 1 billion each to 30 to 45, 45 to 60, 60 to 75 age groups, right? So that is these are 1 billion, right? Good, that's fine. In 2030 there will be 2 billion new 0 to 15 years old. So 2 billion new 0 to 15 years old. Everyone become 15 to 30 years old. So everyone become like now 15 to 30 years old of today will have become 2 billion. So 30 to 45 years old. So that is 30 to 45 years old, because people who are there, they will be also growing, right? So that is these are all the people from 30 to 45. So this people actually came here, right, after 15 years. Obviously that's pure calculation. So there are only 1 billion 30 to 40 years old today. So without any increase in the number of children being born, without people living for longer, there will be 1 billion more adults, right? The 1 billion new adults come not from new children, but from children and young adults who have already been born. So they are not going to come from any new children. If you're thinking that where these 1 billions are coming from, they are coming from the existing people that is already there in this world as a children, right? And their children and their grandchildren are going to contribute to this, right? He says that for 3 generations, this pattern will repeat itself. In 2045, to this 2045, the 2 billion 30 to 45 years old will become 40 to 60, 45 to 60 years old. These are the people that I am showing in the graph, showing in this book here, right? We will have another 1 billion adults. In 2060, the 2 billion 45 to, that is 2060. In 2060, 2 billion 45 to 60 years old will become 60 to 75 years old. Right, that is 60 to 75 years old. Those people who were there is now here, right? 1 billion adults. So that will have another 1 billion adults. But look what happens next. From 2060, each generation of 2 people will be replaced by another generation of 2 billion people. The fast growth stops. Okay, so that is when the actually growth started stopping. Okay, the large increase in population is going to happen not because there are more children, and not in the main because the old folks are living longer. In fact, the UN experts do predict that by 2100 world life expectancy will have increased by roughly 11 years, right? Adding 1 billion old people to the total and taking it to around 11 billion. The large increase in population will happen mainly because the children who already exist today are going to grow up and fill up the diagram with 3 billion more adults. This fill up effect takes 3 generations, and then it is done, right? So that's actually all you need to know to understand. Okay, so let's just read. Okay, okie dokie. So in 1800s, women on average used to give birth to 6 children. Yeah, 6 children. We can't, a lot of women don't even think about, having 6 children right now. So, but it was the case in the 1800s. But he said that the Hans Rosling said that things were balanced out because I hope you remember that he was talking about the skeletons of children in the grave. So what actually used to happen is like even if children were born, they used to die very early because of the immunity and all the privileges that they didn't have as a children. So if six children were born, four of them actually used to die and two of them actually used to survive on average. So there were not much children left to actually grow the population so much. So if you're thinking that okay, in 1800s a woman are having a lot of babies, then the world population would have skyrocketed. But why it is like a state, it is going stable, right? So the reason is that world population is becoming stable. The reason is that in previous time children used to die, and it used to balance out the equation. And the current scenario that after 1860s, after extreme poverty is gone, so poverty has a huge connection to the world population. So if people are not much poor, then the chances are that they are going to have less children, and it is obvious, right? So yeah, you need to be educated, and a little bit of money you need to have to actually understand, okay, we don't need that much children to actually help us in the future, or when we are getting old, right? Yeah. So there is a time in 1900 to 2000 where people actually the population grew from 1.5 billion to 6 billion, right? The reason is that a lot of people actually used to have more than two babies, and they was able to make them survive as well, because they were not poor, they were not living in extreme poverty. That he says that was a unique period in time. So that's the reason, I think that's the reason actually that we think that the world population is increasing. It's not just increasing, it is increasing very very fast. So I was saying this to that's the thing that actually we say in our head. So I was saying this loud in the camera, that the world population is not just increasing, it is increasing a lot faster manner. But the reason is that we think like this is that in 1900s the world population was like skyrocketed between 1.5 to 6 billion, and that's the era that we actually live in. From 19 we are people we are 1900s kids, and or 2000 a lot of people actually born. So if you're born in, even if you are born in 2000, so chances are that you still have that vibe of this 1900s. So they somehow make you believe, your parents, your brother or sister, so they make you believe that okay, the world population is increasing like that, because there was the time which they were increasing like so much, right? So he says that there was a unique time in the history, right? But it is changing now. So that actually created this imbalance, right? Because after 1860s people were having less babies, but after 1900s people, when they get out of the extreme poverty for a quite of a bit period of time, they thought that okay, let's have some babies, because and they were able to save those babies. That's the reason. It was not like babies were dying, and because they were not living in the extreme poverty. So it was a unique period in time, right? So some people think that people who also wants to save the world is like the argument goes like this: if you keep saving poor children, you will kill the planet by causing overpopulation. So on the surface, that this argument looks right, because if you are saving a lot of poor children, you are going to eventually increase the number of population. But the author Hans Rosling says that no, it's not the correct thing, because people have more children because of some reason, like for child labor, and also for a security purpose, that if one children die, another children is there to aid them. And so that's the reason, in people who are living in extreme poverty, like Somalia, Chad, Mali and Niger, those countries actually have a lot of babies. But in countries like Iran, Mexico, India, Tunisia, Bangladesh, Brazil, Turkey, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, all of these countries don't have more than 2 babies on average, right? So you may think that okay, these countries are having a lot of babies. Even if you are living in India, you might be thinking, okay, if we calculate the average, there will be a lot of babies. No, it's not like that. It's not more than 2 babies on average, right? So he's saying that okay, maybe some countries are doing this, but a lot of countries are actually getting better. And we actually saw the graph, right? So people are actually moving from, in terms of level 2 to level towards level 4, right? So the extreme poverty does not exist that much in some of the countries, because we are improving, right? So yeah, that's the thing. So the more income you have, the more longer life you can have. So that graph shows this because it has a direct connection with the health condition, because you can treat yourself better if something goes wrong. So yeah, and you eat healthy because you have access to the money that you can purchase healthy food, right? And healthy population produces more income. So it's like a loop that is constantly uh, giving to our world to improve it, right? Okay. Where income is higher, health is better, right? So he says that when we talk about literacy, vaccination, and fridge, and the curve is like S, because like when we will have money to buy for mobile phone or fridge, we will go for it, like our basic needs are fulfilled and we have money to buy fridge and mobile phone, so population go towards this. So but after that it comes to a plateau where everyone can like go for this, right? But and the author says that just as we will buy ourselves a fridge and a cell phone as soon as we can afford them, countries will invest in primary education and vaccination as soon as they can afford them. Then the curves flatten off at levels 3 and 4. So level 3 and 4, it actually curves actually flatten, because the moment a country can afford the vaccination and education, the country will obviously invest in it, and the curve that you're seeing of education and the people of vaccination, it actually goes towards this plateau, because countries have taken action already, right? So the curves reach their maximum and stay there. So that's the maximum they can go. Like all the children are cured right now, so it is something like this way, and people can afford fridge. That's the way. So it's literacy, same. So all of these things goes like this. It's like a S curve, right? But in terms of schooling, bride age, and recreation, it is going so much faster than you think. It's not an A S. It's a straight line. Okay. And also there is a curve called slide. When we talk about like babies per woman, it is a slide and it's a slide because a lot of women are not having so much babies that they should have, so it slopes downward and then it's flattened out. So it's the opposite of that curve that we can see here, right? So it has started with a lot of babies here, and it just keeps dying, going on, and it's eventually flattened, right? So here is a very beautiful examples, and like dental cavities. So if you are in the level one, there is not much dental cavity that you will get, but when you reach to the level 2 or 3, people have more dental cavities, because as soon as people can afford sweet to eat, so they go ahead and eat it, and their government can't even tell people, make people aware. Like in the Indian people, a lot of people are living in the level 2 on average. So our country like don't talk about like dental cavities, hey, don't eat sweet. They are not running campaigns that do not invest yourself to the sweet. So the moment people actually move from level 2 to level 3 and 4, their actually dental health started improving again. So but for the level 1 people, the reason was that they could not afford to eat the sweet, and the level 4 people actually don't eat because the government actually tells you and you can afford better alternatives, right? So it actually shows up that for level 4 people, that the dental cavity is a sign that those people are poor, right? So you can judge them, right, this way. So yeah, there is another example of this. That is called the hump shape pattern. That creates this hump shaped. So this is like this. It's like a curve that you see right now on this here. This is the curve, right? So for children drowning and traffic deaths, people for level 1 countries, that really does not happen much because people don't have much vehicle to actually go. So how can accident happen if there is no vehicle? But in 2 and level 2 and 3, people can start affording buying a motorcycle on level 2, and level 3 you can buy a car as well. So the more people are buying, and a lot of people are also walking in the street, and there are not much rules and regulation from the government as well to actually prevent this kind of traffic deaths. So the education is poor, so that's why traffic education is poor actually. So that's why this the chaos started happening. So that's the traffic deaths. So it goes to a peak for the level 2 and 3, and then it goes to the down again for level 4. When a country reaches to the level 4, that is controlled, right? It is same for the children drowning case as well, right? He also says a very nice thing that suppose you are growing a tomato, and tomato needs water to grow. So why don't you just have a huge hose of water and keep giving water to the tomatoes and have multi-billion-dollar tomato farm, right? So he says that this does not work this way. Tomato neither work neither grow in a very dry environment or very wet environment. It needs it's somewhere in the middle. So that's how our countries are too. A lot of phenomenon that you can see is happen on the level 2 and level 3, because countries are moving from level 1 to level 4, and most of the countries are in the middle, that you see already on the graph, right? So a lot of the countries actually living in the level 2 and level 3, where a lot of different phenomena like this started happening, because people started to afford sweet. People starts to afford motorbike. They starts to afford a car, and that's the reason that traffic deaths happen. Cavities actually increase. But the moment you reaches the level 4, this thing also start becoming a plateau, because government takes a lot of steps, and you can afford different alternatives, or you become more civilized, I would say, maybe. Well, that's good. So the more better your life is, the more better you can afford. The more you move on to the level 4 of income, you can travel more. People are actually traveling a lot more. It's not like that they are moving from 1 to 2. They are moving in a it's not like it's moving in a very super fast fashion, like 1 2 4, in a compounding effect, right? So traveling distance and spending, people are spending more on the level 4. And CO2 emissions are also directly connected to this, because you're traveling more. The reason you're traveling more, and you are going to emit CO2, and it's obvious, right? So that's how it is increasing, right? Here is one thing I want to directly read from this book, is like, most people's incomes grow much slower than bacteria, unfortunately. Still, even if your income increases by only 2% a year, after 35 years it will have doubled. And then if you maintain 2% growth in another 35 years, it will have doubled again. Over 200 years, if you lived that long, it would double 6 times, right? So the point of this chapter was like remember that the curve is actually curve comes in different shapes. It's not like that the curve will always be like straight line. So curve actually comes in different shapes as well. So there was the main motive of this chapter of saying that if you're thinking something is growing always like in a straight curve, it's not. There is different kinds of curves that happens. Actually, there is some hump, there is some s, there is some slide in case of in case of baby, that the babies that born. So slides can, lines can be very different depending upon what we are having here. So yeah, so that was the main motive of this chapter, right? And we are going to read the chapter 5, right? Chapter 4 as well. So I think this chapter is not that much long, so we will be completing it very fast. That we completed the chapter earlier. It's like 124 pages maybe. Yep, 123. So yeah, let's go ahead and read it without any further ado. So here is a great story by the author. He said he was a junior doctor where a soldier came in from a helicopter, and he was wrapped in blanket, and there was so much blood that was leaking from, and he could not even if able to figure out that where the blood is actually coming out. So he asked the patient that what really happens and where the blood is coming from. So he said that where he so he said the Hans Rosling said that, okay, you are in the Swedish hospital, and there was some scary look on the face of the military. But then he talked about Russian. So then Hans Rosling thought that Russians actually attacked the Swedish, and it is World War III. So but then after that he realized that the nurse said that he was in the ice water for a long period of time. That's why he is shivering, and the blood that he was seeing, it's like a color ampule which was leaked and it was coming. so uh, that's when the author said this thing, that when we are afraid we don't see it clearly, we actually see what we what we are afraid to see. So it's not like we can't really work on the fact. And one thing I want to one quote from this is like, critical thinking is always difficult, but it's almost impossible when we are scared. There is no room for facts when our minds are occupied by fear, right? So he said that we have a filter which actually don't let us pass the good information. So like malaria continues to gradually decline. Meteorologists correctly predicted yesterday that there would be mild weather in the London today. So these are the kind of good things that actually don't pass through our filter, and comes only the disaster and earthquake and all these things. So that's why we think in a very different way. We actually think about the data that is existing for a, we don't actually think much about the data that exists for global development. So the fear is always there, right? For, and media also has some impact on it, right? So yeah, that's what he's saying. uh, So in 1990s, the author took his Swedish student who were living in the life of level 4 income. They took it to a to a midwife worker who actually used to work for level 1 people. So their jaws were dropped when they learned that she used to actually help them have babies on a dark when there is no light as well. So working on the mud on the villages, she used to do this. So she has also asked that how many children do you have. She said that I have two boys and two daughter. And she proudly said that. And when she was asked that whether your daughter will be same as you, then she laughed aloud and said that no, they are actually have nice job. They sit in front of the computer and do their job, right? So their daughters actually escaped the level 1. So and there was a very nice question. uh, if you could choose one piece of equipment that could make your work easier, what that would be? So she answered, when I walk to a village in the dark, even when the moon is shining, it is so difficult to see the snakes. So uh, I really want a flashlight, right? So that's really an awesome thing. So she actually wanted a flashlight, nothing more than that. Here is one thing I want to quote: fears that once helped our fears that once helped keep our ancestors alive today help keep journalists employed. It isn't the journalist's fault, and we should not expect them to change. It isn't driven by media logic among the producers so much as by attention logic in the heads of the consumer. So it is totally depending upon our attention, that how we are putting our attention to it. So if we can't really totally blame the journalists for that, and the producers, because that is our attention actually wants to grab. So that actually worked as a fear. So what really worked as a fear today, and it is a that's how the journalists are actually employed today. So they're pushing a little bit of fear, or maybe super huge fears as well. So a lot of things are actually going on in this world, even in India today. So that's a lot of things that can give you some scary things. That's how actually fear works, man. I swallowed my own here. Okay. Hmm. So natural disasters. So natural disaster. There was a question about like how did the number of deaths per year from natural disasters change over the last 100 years? More than doubled, remained about the same, decreased to less than half. So I have chosen the correct answer, I guess. The decreased to less than half. So that's the question is like about now. We are going to the author is going to talk about this, right? So he said that it is not like that natural disaster kill less people today because the nature has changed. It's not like that. Nature is remaining same, but the majority of people actually is no longer living on the level one. So countries can take precautions of so countries on all income levels. So he says that disasters hit countries on all income levels, but the harm done is very different. With more money comes better uh, preparedness, right? So you become better prepared if you have more money. So if your income level is high, there is a less there is a less problem if something, if natural disaster is happening. So in level 2 it's like 10, so it's in level 3 it's 6, it's 4 for level 4, right? So if you even if you compare the level 1, in 1965 to 1930 there the number was 59, but it declined to 31. So there is also a gradual improvement. The earth so the same analogy, the earth is an a woman is in a earth is a woman who is in a is an incubator, but her health is improving. So that is the improvement. It is still on the incubator, but it is improving, right? So that's the thing. So there is a question. Next time the news shows you horrific images of victims trapped under collapsed buildings, will you be able to remember the positive long-term trend when the journalist turns to the camera and says, "The world became a bit more dangerous"? Will you be able to disagree? To look at the local rescue crew in their colorful helmets and think most of their parents could not read, but these guys are following intentionally used first aid guidelines. The world is getting better, right? So, see, I'm going to read it again. To look at the local rescue crew in their colorful helmets and think most of their parents could not read, but these guys are following internationally used first aid guidelines. The world is getting better. So, if you're thinking that okay, some people are actually collapsed in a building and the journalist is saying something like that, the world is getting dangerous. Do you agree? But can you see that the rescue crew who is entering, their parents could not even read, and they are now actually following internationally used first aid guidelines, right? The world is getting better. It's not the world is getting better at the same time, it is bad at the same time. So that's the thing. So he said that because when we see that child bodies are coming out of the debris, and we see all the dead children, so can any chart make us feel better? So he said that no, claiming this moment that okay, these are the people who are victim, that suffered this kind of thing. If we talk about like data and the world is saying world is getting better, it will be totally unethical. And he said that okay, we should, in this situation, we should forget the bigger picture, that world is getting better, and do everything that we can do to help. That's the thing. So don't just stay on the fear or the sorrow. Obviously you will have some fear and sorrow, and don't be just unjustified by telling that okay, the world is getting better, what if the children died? Don't say this thing. Do whatever you can to help them, to aid them, right? So you can forget the bigger picture for a quite for that moment of time, and just do whatever it is needed to actually help them, right? So flying has gotten 2100 times safer right now. So as you can see, the plane crash happens very less in today's world. In 1930s it was like a dangerous, and passengers were like scary, right? So when same fear actually works towards a lot of people, we actually contribute towards this fear, in a team, I would say, right? So so he said that superpowers actually comes to peace nowadays, and we are living in an era where there is not much problems are happening between countries, like the world wars that actually used to happen previously. That does not happen, and but we see these horrific images of something really bad happening in the world, and we can't really believe that the world is getting better, right? So the thing is that here is he again wants us to remember things can be bad and getting better but still bad, right? So our world is getting better but still bad, right? Because the world was once mostly barbaric, and it is now mostly, and now it mostly not, right? But for Syria it is not same. Like in Syria this really happens. Battle deaths also are going in a decline, uh, right? So when the tsunami happened, it crossed the line, it crossed the wall of a nuclear power plant. So there was news that radioactive contamination is going to happen. So people were like scared and they were running away. And for that, 1600 more people died. The reason was not like people actually escaped. People actually died because of the tsunami. They died because they were trying to escape from the fear or the news that has been spread by the media, right? Because so 1600 people died because they have escaped, right? It wasn't radioactivity but the fear of radioactivity that killed them. So he's saying that a lot of people are actually focusing on something that is not on the bigger picture. That it's something that is some imbalance are created on some food. They're thinking about this and discussing about the wine and getting this fear. So fear somehow works like this. So that's the thing that author wanted to talk about this, because we are fearful at some situation because in some reasons, right? So yep. So he says that we can't really totally rely on the Wikipedia, because after 2015 a lot of stuff were like missing from the terrorist activities that really happened, and 20% of these you know of the death were not like properly reported there as well. So we can't really totally rely on Wikipedia. So right, so we are almost at the end. I hope you are still reading with me, and thank you so much again for watching. So fewer terrorism death actually happens on the level 4, because the reason is like so he was talking about the 9/11 attack, and 9/11 was yesterday, and again this is the thing. So terrorism death really happen less in the richest countries. So yeah. So here is a thing. In United States, uh, the risk that your loved one will be killed by a drunk person is nearly 50 times higher than the risk that he or she will be killed by a terrorist. Fear is really helpful for us to actually understand that what step we need to do to save us from this. There is a fear versus danger. So he's telling you to become aware of the right thing. So actually, natural disaster, like of all deaths, right? Plane crashes, murders, nuclear leaks, terrorism. This contributes only 1% death in the world of among all the death, but that gets the more attention actually in this world. So yeah. I want to quote this here: because frightening and dangerous are two different things. Something frightening poses a perceived risk, something dangerous poses a real risk. Paying too much attention to what is frightening rather than what is dangerous, that is, paying too much attention to fear, creates a tragic drainage of energy in the wrong directions. It makes a terrified junior doctor think about nuclear war when he should be treating hypothermia, and it makes whole population focus on earthquakes and crashing planes and invisible substances when millions are dying from diarrhea and sea floors are becoming underwater deserts. I would like my fear to be focused on the mega dangers of today and not the dangers from our evolutionary past, right? So focus on the bigger picture and see what danger is coming to our way. So don't think about the thing that is actually improving, right? So it is keep improving. So here is some technique to control the fear. He says that calculate the risk. The scary world, fear versus reality. The world seems scarier than it is because what you hear about it has been selected by your own attention filter or by the media precisely because it is scary, right? Risk equals to danger into exposure. So the risk something poses to you depends on how scared it makes you feel, but on a combination of two things, how dangerous it is. So if a thing is dangerous and how much actually you are scared of it, it makes a risk for you, right? And how much you are exposed to it also. So get calm before you carry on. When you are afraid, you see the world differently, right? Make as few decisions as possible until the panic has subsided, right? So don't make any decisions in a rush. So always be calm and let the calmness take over you. Then you take decision, and let's take fewer decisions if possible, right? Okay, so with that, we have completed chapter 3 and 4 today, and it was a long live streaming, I would say. It was not the longest maybe, but still. Okay, so if you're here still, I'm really grateful. And if you're reading for quite a long period of time, I have started this reading journey for 30-day reading challenge to actually read for 30 minutes 30 to 1 hour 30 minutes to 1 hour a day, but it's been going for around 120 minutes or 2 hours. That's not a problem, but I really like reading the book, and the book that I have chosen, Factfulness, is really going fabulous, and I really quite liked today's chapters. So thank you again so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.